We're now going to begin modeling our 5 parts. To do that, we're going to need part files. I'm going to model this one to begin as an example. It's a U-shaped. There's a few different ways that I can do it. To do it with the least number of extrusions, I would sketch this front face, which is a U-shape, and do 1 extrusion back. Another way would be an additive method where maybe I'd create the bottom bar out of 3 cubes and then add in the 2 top cubes. But I'm going to go through and create it using a third method, the subtractive method. And that's where I'm going to start with a block and then cut away material, cut away this hole. Okay, first, how do we create a new file, a new part file? Come up here to your application button and choose new. When you get this menu, we want a standard.ipt file. Create. I've just created a new file. Notice my other file is still down here. I can still access it. And if I hover over it, it shows me. So right here, we're going to start a new sketch. I can choose Start 2D Sketch right here and choose the XY plane. I'm going to begin by using a 2-point rectangle. If you hit the drop down, you can see different choices if you don't have 2-point rectangle. Mine's already chosen. I'm going to create a coincident constraint. Notice that green dot and also the little icon with the arrow, a point, and the arrow to the other point. That coincident constrains the point to the origin. I know that this block is going to be an overall width of 2.25 and an overall height of 1.5. The tab button allows me to go between dimensions. And then I'll hit enter. I'm finished with the rectangle button right now. I'm going to right click and say OK. I now need to add the third dimension, the depth. I'm going to choose Finish Sketch. I can double click my wheel or hit the home button to get this back to view. I'm going to hit Extrude to create the third dimension. When I hit Extrude, I get this feature menu where I can choose the profile. There's only one profile or closed sketch to choose in this case, so it's automatically selected it. And it's going to allow me to change the distance of the extrusion. I want it to be 0.75 inches. Okay. Now I've got my 3-dimensional block. I now need to cut out the hole on the top. I'm going to right-click on the top and say New Sketch. Again, I'm going to create a 2-point rectangle on the top. I'm going to move my cursor until that dot shows a coincident constraint to that edge. Notice the arrow pointing to the line. Click once, and I'm going to come over here and type in the width of 0.75. Now, I could type 0.75 in again, or I could do a coincident constraint to the other edge, and notice that what is really depth, because of the view, it looks like height right now, that 0.75 is already there. That's because that dimension has already been set. So I'll just go with the coincident constraint and left click. I'm done making 2-point rectangles, which is the tool that's still selected, so I will right click and say OK. Next, this hole needs to be centered. I'm going to use the dimension tool to dimension the edge of this feature to the edge of my block. I need that to be 0.75 inches away. Right now it shows me what it is. I will click on it again to adjust it, 0.75. I don't need to dimension this side because the overall has already been constrained to be 2.25. Knowing that this is 0.75 and the feature is 0.75, naturally constrains this right piece. I will choose Finish Sketch. Next, I'm ready to cut this out. I'll use the extrusion tool. Right now it wants me to select the profile. There are 3 profiles, or 3 squares. I could choose any one of them, or I could choose more than one. I'm going to choose the middle one. The default is to do an extrusion up of 0.75 inches. But I would like to do a cut. It's currently right here on join. If you hover over it, should tell you that that means join. I'd like to cut. I'm going to switch to cut. The color actually changed to red in the graphics window, and the direction went down. It already guessed correctly on my my distance, 0.75. Okay, right here you can control the direction. Here you can control the distance. So that looks good. Hit OK. Now I'm going to change the color. Up here under where it says default, I want this to be red. I'm going to drop that down, and if I hit R for red, it will look for anything that starts with an R. And I'm going to choose red. And there's my part. Now, be sure to save this file as you're instructed. You'll end up creating 5 of these parts. In the end, because of other things that we're going to do, we do need to make sure that we've got the correct front view chosen. In my view cube over here, if I choose the front face, I get the U. That is the correct front view. My front view should be a view that is the most recognizable and most descriptive of my shape. I also like that the contours are pointing up, so if I think of a multi-view drawing, these contours will be facing up, pointing towards my top view, and when I dimension them, I'll be able to dimension in between adjacent views, which is good. Should I have not had that be my front view, perhaps this was, let me show you how you can change it. I'm going to change it twice, once to get it to something different, and then again to fix it. So right here where the right has been chosen, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say set current view as front. Now notice in my view cube, this view has become my front view. And if I choose this orthographic right here for front, top, right, I can see the U shape, but there is significance later when I use a drawing file as to which one is the front. When I choose front, I don't want to see this. I'd like to see the U. This right here is a look at tool. I'm going to go ahead and choose the U again, and I can do it with choosing the right, or if you ever have a face that you want to look at and turn it perpendicular to your eye, choose that tool and select the face you'd like to look at. I'd now like to take this and make that my front view. So again, I will choose right click on the view cube, set current view as front. Now, if you ever would like to readjust your home view, what view you get when you choose the home button, generally we want it to be our front, top, right isometric. So with that selected, again, I can right click and say set current view as home, and you say fit to view. That way, should you ever have your orientation different and you want to be able to snap back to your home view, you can simply click the home and get right back to our front, top, right view. And it fits it right into your graphic window nicely.